Oops. I want to go here. All right. We're doing graphical statistics today. So we'll learn about statistics, categorical data, quantitative data, like stem plots. So graphing calculators are a must today. Leading causes of death in the United States. Heart disease had 595,441, which is 24%, 24.1% of the deaths in the United States. Cancer had that. Respiratory diseases like that. Stroke had that. Other is that. Okay? And hopefully those all add up to somewhere around 100. So we could make a bar chart out of that. In your graphing calculators, we'll do a bar chart. We could make a circle graph. Your graphing calculators will do a circle graph. Okay? So, we're not going to spend a lot of time on doing those first two on a graphing calculator because you'll learn how to put other stuff in. Frequencies are often recorded in a frequency table. The table shows frequency distribution, literally the way the frequency that the total data is distributed among. Okay, so Mark McGwire's yearly home run totals from 86 to 2001. 3 times during those years, he hit 0 to 9 home runs. 2 times during those years, he hit between 20 and 29. 5 years, he hit between 30 and 39. And then 2 times, and then 1 time he went over 70. Okay? So then that is a histogram, which is a bar chart that shows his home run totals. Okay? So there's numerical scales at both of them. Histogram. So we can graph one. All right, let's go straight to the homework now. Discard. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so what will we be doing? A national poll asked whether they plan to watch national sporting event or not. Okay, so Super Bowl, basically. Out of 1,003 people surveyed, okay, 487 were men, 516 were women. The men, 277 out of the 487 said their primary interest is the game. 83 said it was the commercials. And 127 said they ain't even watching the Super Bowl. Women had the same percentages. And so 270 out of the people who want to watch the game, 277 were men, 198 were women. Out of the people who were more focused on the commercials, out of the 243 of them, 83 were men, 160 were women. So we have multiple out of what? Out of what? So you got to know how to read it. What percentage of the people plan to skip the game? Well, how many won't watch? 285 of the people won't watch. Out of the 1,003, you divide, you get a percentage. Okay? What percent of the people who were men planned to skip the game? Now we're just looking at this column because we're talking about who were men. Who won't watch? Well, 127 out of the 487. Now, the percent of men who plan to skip the game is, okay, the percent of men, the percent of people who were men that planned to skip the game. Okay, now did I do that wrong? The percent of people, oh, yep, I did the last one wrong. This is this. Percent of men who plan to skip the game is 127 out of 487. The percent of people who were men that planned to skip the game. Okay, so the total that planned to skip the game were 285. How many of them were men? 127. So the percent of people who were men that planned to skip the game. versus the percent of men who plan to skip the game. Okay, I got to get this right. Percent of men who plan to skip the game was 120. Yeah, so I got that right. So this is 127 out of 285. Because this is the people who plan to skip the game, percentage of men out of the people who plan to skip the game. Okay, let's do somebody give me these two numbers really quick, and I'll check them with the answer key, and hopefully we won't prove me wrong. What's 127 divided by 285? 0.446, and then 127 out of 487. 261. Then I'll go to the answer key, and we'll see if Mr. Bierspach's. Whoa. Okay, 261, but 1, 2, 6. Out of total people. Percent of people who were men. So this would be out of 1,000. Okay, and then I guess they don't want just that. They want, so it's 1,003. So it's 1, 2, 6 point something, or 12 point, what is this? We'll take 127 divided by 1,003. 6. One more. So they want this many decimals when you do those problems. Okay? All right, the percent of people who plan to skip the game who were men. So, percent of people who plan to skip the game was here. How many of them were men? So that's the 127 out of 285. So it depends how you read it, how they ask it, what they're looking for. This is the percent of people. This is the percent of people who plan to skip the game. This is the percent of people who are men that plan to skip the game. Percent of people who plan to skip the game who are men. Yikes. Okay? So you got to figure out very carefully what those are. All right. Life expectancy of females. Okay? So, how many nations had a life expectancy of females somewhere in this category? Well, females, there weren't any in that category. Okay? How many were in this category between 60 and 64? Between 60 and 64, again, 0. Between 65 and 69, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so on. 1 here, and then 2 here. Okay, that's pretty easy. That's pretty straightforward. Okay. The following heights of players of basketball team. Use classes of width 2 starting at 64.5 to construct a histogram. Okay. So here's the heights of the players. And which is the correct histogram for how many were of those heights. So then you have to start with, okay, how many were in the 64 to 65, 64 to 66.5, and then you go through here and count how many of them were in there. Well, there's 1 there. So the first one is just a 1. So then after you do a couple, you can figure out choice D. Okay. That one's not so important. Home runs, time plot. So you got to find where it's 41, then 49, then 39, and so on. Okay. Start at 41, then 49, then 39. So it's one of these two. And you just pick out the right one. Oop, sorry. I think most of you can figure out where it should go. Time plot generally is a line graph. I'll give you that one because I'm pretty sure that is correct. All right, so there's 9 questions. Is it out there already? Okay, go ahead, get started. If you have questions, I think it's fairly straightforward on most of these.